everybody, good morning and welcome back to Reaper Toolbox with me, your host Ann, Disembodied Hands, Quindy, a Kiki who got bored all of a sudden, and Ethereal Vapors, Justin and John. Hi, I decided that if you're Disembodied Hands, Ethereal Vapors made sense, Quindy, unless you'd like to be an Ethereal Vapor, but you know, maybe you're the queen of Ethereal Vapors. Miss Imp with the 38, hey Pa, Papa, come say hi to stream, Papa. Good girl. And Kiki. She's been kind of a demon this morning. She's been kind of a demon, but we love her anyway. Good girl. Good girl, Keeks. Good girl, Keeks. You're such a monster. You're such a monster. No noms. No noms. You're a good girl. Good girl. Yeah. All right. All right. Off. Good girl. Let's go out. Come on. Good girl. Go settle and chew, okay? Don't chew your belly. Good girl. Okay, go chew your belly, okay? Here, I'll open up your door a little bit. One moment, guys. Here. I'll open up your door a little bit more. Okay. There you are, you bellies. Good girl. No teeth. No teeth, Papa. No teeth. Nope. No, ma'am. No. Mama's got to work. Mama's got to work, and you are so disruptive lately. Yeah, you are. You go settle down and settle and chew, okay? She's been so disruptive to stream lately. I have to lock her out. I'm just going to take the step. Mistim, thank you for the 38 months. Excellent. Good morning. Good morning. Yes. Ethereal Vapors. Yes, you missed Kiki. Sorry, she was all over trying to nom my face a second ago, Julari. But, you know, that's okay. That's okay. You can always go to the VOD afterwards and see the Kiki assault, as usual. She's been a real demon lately. Like, she's been a real, like, Satan dog. Seriously, guys, today so far. So we're going to see. Oh, no, Miss Imp. Oh, no. Yeah, Keeks is, oh, good girl. No. 1 second. No. She's liked the entryway carpet. Speaking about floor mats, settle down and go settle. Speaking of floor mats, she's decided the front door carpet. No, Pendrick, she just puts on a show for you. Go settle down, Keeks. But yeah, she's a total demon today. Like, she just wants to be. She's like testing. She's very testing today. So like, oh, Mama doesn't want me to. I'm gonna try to claw at the floor underneath the kitchen table and see if I can get Mama's attention. Oh, I got Mama's attention. I'll try to bite her. You know, that kind of stuff. Trying to push it. If I hear her being bad out there, I'll have to give her. I probably should just give her another chew, just to keep her busy. Because the problem is you can't let her get into the habit of like, oh, she's being bad, give her a chew, because then she learns to be bad to get a chew. So 1 second while I go and give her something to nom on. That's good that she really likes. Hi, Papa. I'm going to get you a wobble. Let's get you a towel. Would you like a towel this morning? Yeah, would you like a towel? Ooh, a towel. Go settle with your topple, Papa. Go settle with your topple. Be a good girl. All right. Whew. Hopefully that'll do it. Nothing. She's just crazy. Funny, Miss Imp. Yeah. Woof. Hi, Roger. How you doing? Jeez. All right, cool. But yeah, she's just being a demon today, and that's the way it is. She's got good days that she's like a really good dog, and then she's got days that she's like a demon dog. Today's a demon dog day. Oh, yeah, crazy Kiki. Crazy Kiki. Insane dog. And there isn't much else we can do except to try to be consistent and to just wait her out. We're doing a road trip. I won't be streaming this Saturday because we're doing a road trip up to Sacramento to take care of something for David's dad. And we're bringing her with, so I'm setting up the car to be her adult car enclosure. So not a crate, but using my car barricade and blocking off the front seats. So we'll see how that goes with the Keekster loose essentially in the back. All right. Oh, I got a little speck of something on his knee. I'll have to fix that. Okay. So today, but yeah, so for those who like to watch my Saturday stream, we will not have Saturday stream this week, and I won't either next week because I'll be in Arizona. I need to mix up my colors, so we're doing, I want to continue to work on this NMM. It needs to be darkened down a bit more in the middle and things like that. So, got my gray liner. Got my cloudy gray, got my tropical blue over here somewhere. There it is. There we are. Oh, she was car sick when she was a baby, Roger, but she's fine. Like the thing is, Roger, I've only had her in her crate in the car. I haven't opened up the pen. Essentially with the Honda Element, what you can do is you can take the seats out or fold them up, and you can just use a car barricade to make the center section essentially just a dog pen. And so she does fine in her crate, but she doesn't like crates in general. I'd rather have her in the pen so she has room to stretch out and to, and so I have more room in the car. Like with her giant crate in there right now, there's just no room for traveling stuff, and I need room for suitcase and cooler when we go on the road next week. So I want to test her with the barrier to see how she does. Yes, obviously Ghost is the right choice, Missed him. But yeah, she's fine so far with her crate, but I need to test her. This will be a 2-hour trip. It's 2 hours up and 2 hours back usually to Sacramento from here. And what are you squeaking for? But it'll be a good test to see how she handles it, I guess. While I have David in the car with me, at least on the way back. All right. And then some white. Obviously, you can name your Invisible Dog Spectre as well, along the lines of Ghost. Yeah, exactly, right. To eat a Honda Element. Actually, the Element, the Element has weathered 4 other Shilohs. So we shall see. Kiki's just her own special beast. That's just the problem here. Very special beast. All right, so boom, 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 boom. So I'm starting out 2-to-1 on all these because I have a base coat already. I've got my gray liner. I've got my cloudy gray plus a bit of tropical blue, probably half a drop. I've got my pure white, and I'll probably make a mix of these guys and a mix of these guys kind of up in the, either over here or up here, just to get better transitions. Luckily, the Element is pretty impervious, being plastic and rubber in general. It was voted, when it came out, it was voted the best dog car of the year, for sure. And it was regularly cited as one of the better dog cars. And I would agree. It's easy to clean out because it doesn't have all the upholstery. And the seats are pretty easy to take a lint roll or two. So again, we use gray liner for these because gray liner is much more transparent than most of the paints that Reaper has that have black in them. Often the Reaper, the big blacks, like pure black, but the colors that are called black are usually made in a high solids or high density base, and that is a high coverage base. And so it's much harder to get those colors to be transparent. And so to make it easy on yourself, instead of using black or even like carbon black or noir black or any of those blacks, they're all made with that very high coverage base. To make it easier on yourself for the blending, I recommend using gray liner instead for steel and silver NMM. And I'm mixing all this up, and then I'm going to actually put just a little bit of the cloudy gray into the gray liner, just a little, just to make them kind of go together a little bit better. Just a little bit on my brush for mixing. It'll lighten it just a tad, but not appreciably. Spook is a good one. Or you look up what the, to be obscure, you look up what the actual name of the Invisible Man was, and you name the dog like with the Invisible Man's last name or something. Hey, Garnico. All right, so here we are. Here we are with our silly NMM. So if you recall, I was actually using the cloudy gray to line around these, but now I need to go to a darker color, the gray liner, to line around the shadow parts. And I may actually need to darken this down just a little bit more. But yeah, we'll, if I have to, like if Kiki is absolutely over the top and to the point where it's not safe to drive with her, I will have to give her a trazodone, which is essentially kind of a sedative. I have extras from when we put the Holter on her, because for some reason the vet gave me a whole bottle of them, and I really didn't need a whole bottle. But I do have the option if I need her to be calmer. Because, you know, when you're driving, you can't be distracted by a dog. It can really be bad for your safe driving practices. So we'll see how it goes. So just trying to get some lining around those, and I'm going to have to touch them up. You could also name the dog Harvey after the invisible rabbit in that one movie. The eponymous movie, I believe. Old movies. So I'm not sure that I'm liking a lot of the lining. It's like the scales are pretty, as I mentioned, but last time we were working on these, the scales are really a little bit irregular, and so lining doesn't look that great on them because it just accentuates that. But I'm going to keep trying to. Crystal would be a good one too. Though most younger people wouldn't get that reference. Yeah, so the problem is these gappy parts where it gets blobby. Chocolate cake for breakfast, oh my god. I dropped sugar out again of my diet so that I could sleep better and so that my intestines would calm down. But chocolate cake does sound pretty good. So kind of bringing down the lining just to get a little bit of it, but still, I'm just not happy with it because it looks really messy, and you guys know how I hate messy. So I don't know that I'm going to keep that actually. No, they are going in the quote-unquote wrong direction, Salamander. This is Jason Weeby, and I think he took inspiration from the Lord of the Rings, Return of the King, where the Easterlings armor, some of the Easterlings have armor like this. Since this is a genie, you know, it's kind of feels that way as far as the ethnicity goes. Culturally, same kind of inspiration. And I'm going to do some blending and try to grab some of this. Yeah, we'll see. It may be that I'm just not happy with this model in the end, and I have to, you guys know I've already kind of been thinking about not finishing it, because it's just a lot. And he definitely has some clunky parts. And this is why I don't paint big models on stream a lot, because I prefer the little models. So I'm just going to kind of darken down the scales a bit. Yeah, well, the lining is shading, Kodiak. Lining is absolutely shading. Like, it's very abbreviated, very, very tight shading. And what we'll do to make that not look that way is we'll glaze with white over the center section to help bring that down. Because that'll bring it all a bit shade lighter. And we need to actually slurp it out of the holes there. But you've got to do something. And that's where the scale of this also works against us, with these scales being done this way. Because as it's bigger, this casts realistic shadows. And so these little bits are like, you know, disrupt. That's better. That looks better. You've got to do something to bring out the shapes if you're going to do it. Like, you've got to do something. But it's kind of a catch-22, right? Because if you put the lining in to bring out detail, it tends to look like shading. So a glaze helped. Another glaze would probably help more. But you have to, if you can't just paint it white, right? It won't work. It is big enough to cast its own shadows, which is why it's kind of fighting this, but at the same time, you can't just leave it blank. So that's okay. That's a little bit better. So then I got to go over here, and I've got to bring up the color there. But yeah, this whole area would probably have been just, like, if you guys were painting this model, I'd say go metallics. Doing this sort of area, this sort of sculpting, this type of detailing, doing it in MM like I am is actually a real pain. Real pain. Oh, speaking of a pain, I've got, Pa brought her, I gave her a topple toy that was filled with pumpkin. Frozen pumpkin. She's happy now. She's sitting over there, sharing with me across the gate. But yeah, the trouble with this Japanese samurai, interesting. Just bringing these up a little bit lighter, a little bit of light, and ideally we'd put some peach on these as well. The reflected light would be from the scarf here. But yeah, I decided to fight with this today to see if I could get it to a point that I liked it. I'm sure that Jason did it just to do something different, right? And best to do something different with ethereal armor that, you know, isn't even really, probably isn't even real, quote unquote. Although it's always possible that Izzy concepted this one, but I don't know. I don't know if Izzy concepted these. Because every once in a while, Izzy does like dragging obscure parts of armor into the world in miniatures. Yes, yes, we all know that the practicality of it is dubious. Unless you're wearing it on a horse, obviously. If you're expecting an upward slash with this, then this seems like the kind of thing you'd wear on a horse, although it also seems that if you wore it on a horse, it would be pointing the wrong direction too, since your legs change angle. But who knows? I'm not concerned with the historical verisimilitude of it. I'm only concerned with how much of a pain is it to paint, and the answer is quite a bit. Quite a bit. Yeah, maybe the genie just likes it. Maybe he thinks it's styling. I don't know. He's wearing all sorts of other weird stuff, so. Who knows? Anyway, just a little bit of highlighting out that way. And I want to get a little bit, yeah, it's just, my biggest issue with this is not actually the direction of the scales, but the fact that they are sculpted really irregularly, which makes it super, super difficult to make this look good. If it was sculpted where every little scale was exactly the same, like where you'd use like a stamp to just like boop, 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 and they were all like uniform, like they would be on armor, I would have a lot easier time making this look good. But as it is not easy. And I may give up and move to gold NMM if I can't get satisfaction out of it. But yeah, the easiest way to do this, honestly, guys, if you're painting it on your own, is going to be to do metallics. Do metallics and don't shade them unduly, but I mean, it'll work a little bit easier than this. Yeah, I mean, it reads okay. It's just not ideal. You know me, perfectionist Anne. And that's part of why I would be likely, like, this is what makes me give up on models sometimes, is when the model itself is fighting me and I don't see a way to fix it because it's the sculpt. If I feel like I can't make part of the model look good, then I'm very likely to put it down. And I don't really blame myself for that. Like, I don't think that's a problem. I think that's a feature. Because life is too short to paint a miniature that is terribly frustrating for you. So if the sculpt is giving you conniptions, don't feel bad about putting it aside. And if you're never going to go back to it, maybe strip the paint and give it to a friend who might like it more than you do. But yeah, it's reading is shiny and metallic-y and all that good stuff already. But yeah, it is a difficult one. Yeah, leather would work great actually on these because it kind of backs up the irregularity of the scales. You could see like although even then a leather stamp could be used, right? It's you could do it. I don't know. Do it anything except NMM. Oh dear, Kernico. Yeah, that sounds pretty deadly. That's cool that your friend opened a bakery, though. It's really neat. But now they're a pro and they can't make it onto the Great British Baking Show. Oh, it looks like Izzy art. Yeah. Maybe Izzy did it and then was like, meh, that armor. Maybe. Who knows? Just blending, trying to blend out some transitions here. Make them a little smoother. Darken down my area there. Oh dear. Good, Shadow Raven. Yeah. All right, I'm going to do a little bit of lining here. Not quite dark enough. Got to get the thing showing up. Maybe I need to take the Keekster to an actual dog park today to try to run the oomph out of her. So just a little, that's a little bit better. So just a little bit of detail. You want a little bit to, again, to make the scales kind of stand out where they are otherwise pretty blasé. That's cool, Splat. Yeah, it's just frustrating for me, you know, just like it would be frustrating for you guys. And if I had to paint this, like if it was like a commission for Jason or something, like I would muck with it until I enjoyed it, at least till I didn't hate it, right? Because, you know, where I might hate something, somebody else might be like, oh, that looks great, you know. I'm just a perfectionist. So we're trying to make those little scales come out a bit. There we go. Sometimes it's just a struggle. Yeah, for sure. Viola shoe. We finished watching Junior Bake Off a couple nights ago. And like, I'm impressed that like 10-year-old kids can nail shoe pastry. Like, it's pretty insane. Like, I didn't even learn to cook properly until I was like in my 20s. And here's these like 10-year-olds just like, ta-da. But they need to do an international bake-off, because what about like all those people from other countries who aren't British who really want to compete on bake-off? Impressive and depressing, yes. David didn't like it as much at first because the stuff just, you know, doesn't look as good because kids don't have the fine motor for the decoration. But honestly, some of those cakes look just as good as the adult bake-off. It's like, but you know, when you stop and you think about it and you're like, okay, like these kids grew up watching Bake Off, right? Because it's been on for long enough now. That it's like they're breeding a whole new gang. That's true. Yeah, it's just like mini painting, right? I mean, it's just like any hobby these days. Like when I was trying to learn mini painting and trying to get better back in the 90s, and there were starting to be internet resources, but nothing like what you guys have access to now. Like there was just like forums, right, where people would talk about it, but nobody was doing like video. Just trying to get a little bit of blended area underneath that shadow of this arm. Oh, yeah, that would be too serious, right? Because the problem is that when you're a professional, your livelihood is on the line, and so you're less likely to be whimsical and freewheeling. Although anybody who hasn't watched School of Chocolate should, which is professionals, and it is serious, but it is just so amazing. And it is actually pretty wholesome. I mean, there's a little bit of drama, but the people who are dramaful are quietly kind of sent to the corner rather than celebrated. Yeah. Yeah, for sure, Korniko. That kid from the Bake Off intro must be old enough to vote by now. Right. Yeah, I mean, professional just isn't going to be. I mean, it's like if you had a mini painting paint off and it was only like the best, like the not people who are not doing this for a living, just the best amateurs, then it would be a lot more fun probably than if you took a bunch of pros who really take themselves seriously as artists, quote unquote. Because much as I do go out of my way to point out that what we do is art and craft, it's both. Some people go a little bit far into like their identity tied up in the artist thing, and that's where you get the super serious stuff. And it when it's tied up in your livelihood, then it's never the same. You're not just doing it for fun anymore. It's kind of like, actually, there's an example of this. It's kind of like the Aces of Painting at Gen Con that they used to have. I don't know that they do it anymore, but it's a paint off for charity. It's a speed paint for charity. And a bunch of the instructors, and just, good painters were always invited to do it. I did it for a couple of years and I just stopped because for me, I was like seriously trying to like become a professional at it, and it wasn't fun anymore. Like it just wasn't, because you always kind of you've got this pressure, and I've never been a speed painter to begin with. So being in the public eye like that, doing it, I just couldn't have fun. I couldn't relax. So I just stopped doing it. So I imagine Pro Bake Off could be like that. Well, but the regular Bake Off is that way too, Twisted Oma. There's a lot of people helping people in the regular adult Bake Off as well, but it's still amateur bakers, right? Yeah, exactly. And really, that's like, that's kind of it. Like, I mean, technically, the difference, like, the differences are less and less because of the internet. Nowadays, if you are quote unquote an amateur and you just do something for your hobby, but you have the drive to become very good at it, like part of you wants to excel at it, but you really don't care about making it your profession, kind of like David. Um, Although I'd count him as a pro by, strictly just because he's taken money to teach classes and things like that at this point. He could do a workshop and, make thousands of dollars if he did it. Uh, but yeah, but like he's got no interest in doing it for reals. But he has the drive to be good at it. And so I think you do see, kind of like they always talk about those armchair historians, and every once in a while one of them will just come up with something that's really stand out, even next to what, real quote unquote historians do. A little bit of highlighting in here, just a tiny bit. It's not going to be great. But yeah, so it makes it depends on mindset. It's very much a mindset thing, I think, too. But often, if you're going to be serious about something, if you're going to try to make, a living or an income at it, you do have to put on your serious hat, right? It's just part of the thing. You feel the pressure to perform to the standard that you want to be known for. Because if you don't, somebody's going to dig up that video. Somebody's going to dig up that story. Somebody's going to dig up, what, XYZ. It's all out there on the internet these days. Just trying to blend in these guys a little bit. Like so. And I'll do a glaze also. Yeah, I don't enjoy the arrogant or the super like I am awesome and the rest of these people are going down kind of attitude. Don't like that either. I don't know what Kiki is doing, but hopefully it's not destroying part of the house. She's barking at something. All right, I'm going to do a glaze over this lighter area to knock down those shadows. Glazing with white is fraught with peril because it's such a heavy pigment. It's really easy to get brush strokes with any light pigment when you glaze. So when you do it, you really got to be careful how you wick the white off as it dries, if it's getting close to drying. So I usually try to approach from the side of any area and not to directly touch the area unless I absolutely have to get my brush in there. Then I'm going to have a really light touch. Because it's got more coverage, because it's a just more opaque pigment, brush strokes show up super easily on a light glaze. So when you're doing skin tones, for example, with it, there we go. And then I totally forgot this side, so I need to try to put a base coat on that. And I bet that I've thinned my paint too much, so I should thicken it up and do this part. All right, I'm going to add a couple drops of paint and see if I can get it thick enough to get a good base coat on it. Kiki is a monster dog this morning. I don't know what the heck happened to her. Maybe she slept really well. Yeah, interesting. Because they're trying to be the big guys, huh, Kerniko? Yeah, I find cooking shows these days are really touch and go. All right, where's a nice fat brush? Where's my Reaper? Reaper brush. Do some base coat. Base coat. Let's see if I can get it to stick. Yeah, the fact that Bake Off doesn't have like a, you know, it's just got the understated cake platform or whatever cake stand, I guess. It's all for bragging rights, and that's the way it's got to be, I think. Yeah, this is having trouble. Trouble sticking. I knew it would. Sometimes you look at Bones Black and you just know. You just know that it's going to be all silly. It's the experience, yeah. When I switch to full strength paint, I can get it to stick no problem. Yeah, Kiki's a monster today. Total monster dog. Like, she can't be a year old soon enough, honestly. All right, so we've got a solid base coat. What are you doing? Hanging out? All right, good girl. She's like, I'd really like to come in and nibble on you, Mama. That's what I would most like to do right now. That's Kiki. Kiki says. She's just lying down on the other side of the baby gate watching me. Okay. And I definitely need some lining in here. I haven't lined around any of this. I'm going to grab my brown liner and actually do that while I'm waiting for my paint to dry. My gray liner is thin, so I want to bring in the brown instead. For most of my lining, if I want it fairly dark, it's going to be a 5-to-1 or a 4-to-1 mix. Uh-oh. Settle down, Papa. Maybe. I mean, she should be used to it by now, right, Pendrake? She just knows that every morning Mommy goes in here and works. And work involves me talking to thin air. Maybe I'm magic that way. How is a dog supposed to know? She just trying at some point, Shadow Raven. She's just learned that we don't want her to claw at the floor, so she does it to get attention. See, that's the problem now. Is just like that's why I try to always give her a chew or something to distract her, make sure she's got. But even then, sometimes she just really wants my attention, so she'll do things that are bad to get negative attention. She far prefers to be called a good girl and to get her, her good girl vibe on. But when I'm busy, I can't spare time to work with her. It's just a needy puppy. And it's something that, like this breed and most herding breeds, it's like kind of a thing, right? I mean, that's what you like about them is they want to be, they're human focused. But it can also be a real royal pain when they're growing up and they have a lot of energy and you don't have a lot of energy, or you're just like, you have a life, you're busy. You can't always spare your attention for them. And they have to learn that, right? But it's difficult because they'll just start trying to do anything they can to get your attention. Just like a little kid. So doing just a bit of lining around here so that I'm getting some shadows and separating it out. And it's just a hard road, like when you're raising them, to try to figure out what the boundary is, right? When gotta kind of be aware of when they're trying to manipulate you, because dogs can absolutely be manipulative. Don't you ever think they can't. All right, got that set in. But yeah, she's just bored and she wants interaction. And I gave her frozen pumpkin-filled toy early, much earlier than I normally would. Normally she gets those in the afternoon, just to keep her, busy so she didn't get in trouble. But now she's bored again, and it's like, yeah, you always have that balance of, how much do I try to soothe the boredom and how much do they just have to deal with it? Because just like with humans, you just gotta learn to deal with it in whatever way that you deal. And some of us don't, like our soothing behaviors are different than. But the pawpaw cannot always have a new thing to play with when she is bored. Sometimes she's just gonna have to like hang out. A little bit more lining. But yeah, I imagine this is no more confusing than when, dogs before the internet and streaming had to deal with their humans talking on the phone all the time. Same thing, you're talking into thin air. Yeah, I missed him. Yep. Then she's like, haha, I have won. That's funny. Okay, probably mostly light here, but a little bit dark. But yeah, it really is like a little kid, like when you teach your little kid to be bored, or how to be, how to be bored, or whether it's always stuffing something in their face, right? And there are pros and cons. And I feel that way with Kiki. Sometimes I feel like I'm always just stuffing something in her face to get her to settle down. But I can't always, if I reach for that, then I'm going to get a dog that always needs that. And I don't want that. So sometimes, and it's hard for me because I really like there are times when I'm just like really impatient with the whole digging on the floor thing and stuff like that, where I'm just like, grar, and I have to teach myself to just ignore it. It's just like, well, if she hurts the floor, she hurts the floor, and we're just going to deal with it, and I'm not going to give her what she wants, right? It's very hard. It must be super hard for parents who have to deal with this for so much more time, depending on the child, I suppose. I wasn't a terribly manipulative child, and I really liked to be on my own and just to work on my arts and crafts. And so my parents were probably relieved that I wasn't a high maintenance child, but Kiki is a high maintenance child for sure. Afternoon, crows, afternoon. We're trying to struggle with this terrible, terrible scale mail still. Although I've almost got it to the point where I'm ready to just drop it. Almost got it to the point. Just need to do this side. You know, there are tricks, but sometimes they don't even work, Pendrake. She's such a weird dog in what she'll eat. I don't even want to go there. Like, I know so many dogs where the hot sauce trick didn't work. Like, and I've owned one. So you're just pretty much making your floors sticky and teaching the dog that they can lick the floor and get flavor off of it. So think about what you're actually teaching the dog there, right? Like if the dog has no problem with hot. I knew a dog that really loved the taste of sour apple, and I knew a dog that really liked hot stuff. So it's better to ignore the behavior. It's just hard for humans, right? It's really hard for humans to ignore the behavior that is driving them crazy. So most humans would rather like try to find an easy fix that doesn't involve them having to kind of force themselves to ignore the dog. Definitely easier than puppies, yeah. You got lucky, Miss Stimp. But yeah, it's just you gotta figure out. And I've been a lot more relaxed with this puppy than I was with a lot of my previous puppies. Which is good because, man, if I had been as fried as I was when I had my other Shilohs, I just was a very tired person back then. Very exhausted. I don't know how Kiki and I would have gotten along in my old days. But now I'm a lot calmer and I can just say, okay, whatever. Because really you've got to question, why is the dog doing X, right? So, and with Kiki, usually her main why is that she is curious. But if she does something and it gets her human attention, her motivation instantly shifts to, when I do this, I get attention. Because that's what she really wants. She really wants attention all the time. Yeah, Basset Hound, yep. Wow, yeah. Kiki loves cilantro. She eats cilantro, she eats arugula. Like, I dropped a bunch of cilantro on the floor last night because I made Peruvian baked chicken, so it's spicy. And I was using the cilantro for a Peruvian chimichurri sauce. And I dropped like a bunch of leaves on the floor, and then I went to pick them up, and they were all gone. They'd all been vacuumed by the Kiki. All right, so we've got a nice blend here. That's very nice, but I need to define the scales a little bit without going overboard too much. Yeah, so Keekster, she's got some weird likes. And we do have a little bit of pooling paint here. The other way you could do this, instead of doing the lining, is to start everything a color darker, and then just bring the white in and leave the gray. Oh, yeah, exactly. The digestive crazies, right? Yeah. Exactly. Yes, it tastes so good when you eat it, not so much when it goes through. Just a little bit of segmenting. Yeah, Kiki's also going through another mouthy phase this week, so she's really amping up the mouthing again. And sometimes, you know, we try to leave the room when she does it, but like sometimes she just like you can't, right? You're fixing dinner and you can't just abandon a bunch of raw chicken where she can get it. It's really frustrating. There we go. So yeah, it's just a challenge. She's the most challenging puppy I've owned, and that includes like my crazy reactive dog. Although he was, you know, many years in the past, so it may be just that the memories have dimmed. But I don't remember him, like, he didn't mind being in his crate. Like, he was okay with being crated. And so that made it a little easier, where she is definitely anti-crate. All right, so I'm going to try to bring some light right down the middle, still keeping a little bit of this lining. Kodiak. These are, me and Miss Imp are just commiserating over our terrible puppies. I'll tell you though, most, like I said, like the Shiloh puppies are usually much easier than this. And I could have chosen the easy puppy, okay? I could have chosen the easy puppy. Her sister, the black sister, Pike, was the easiest puppy ever. Like Kodiak, like she was like real Shiloh. Like you would just, Bridget could just pick her up and hand her to you, and you'd be just holding her in your arms, and she'd be on her back, and she'd be like chilling, like chillest puppy ever. Kiki, not a chill puppy. But on the other hand, I'm kind of glad I got her because at least I have kind of a clue on how to deal with that kind of thing. Whereas a beginning puppy owner, like Pike's owners are, they're beginning dog owners, they would not have known how to deal with Kiki. Oh my god, it would have been terrible. Yeah, Kiki's time limit is like 3 minutes, 5 minutes. We've lately been crating her again during supper because she was trying to be a bad dog when we were trying to eat. She was really good for a while, but then she was like trying to push it. So we're like, all right, now you're going back to your crate when we eat. And she's definitely not happy being in there for 15, 20 minutes. And she is very good when she's out generally. Like right now when if I'm not home, she's actually trustworthy. Like yesterday when I had to go to get my car repaired, she's super trustworthy. I came home and she pretty much had curled up near the door to wait for me to come home, and she was like wagging her tail and turning herself into a pretzel when I walked through the door. And nothing was broken or hurt in the house, right? Which really just tells you that when she's being bad, she's really doing it because she wants attention. Because when nobody is there to get attention from, she's great. There we go. So we've got a little bit of a light coming down there. I want to bring in a little bit more dark on the side. It's just remember that a puppy, like this is, several of my breeder friends with Shilohs are saying that they don't want a puppy again. Like they would rather adopt a young adult dog for their next dog. And I get it. I totally get it. Like some people are like, oh, but puppies are so cute. I'm like, the cuteness does not make up for the work. So just a little bit more shading back here to bring out some of these. No, we keep the house. Our house is really, I love this about it too, but David and I don't keep things on the floor or anything. So if there was something chewed, we'd find the evidence. She also is not like, she's not used to hiding that sort of thing. Kiki, like, if Kiki gets a hold of something to chew it, it is strewn all over the living room. He's only two. He's only two. Yeah, Crowley, exactly. That's where I am too with Keeks. Yep. Herders are attention seekers. It's true. Yep. Yeah. Yep. And it's just, it's been a long time since I've had a pup, and she's definitely a challenging pup. Yep. Just, you know, Kodiak, if you want to be saved from my fate, then you specifically ask your breeder for a dog that is a bit lower key and a bit more chill. Because, at least in Shiloh's, these are things we look at. And especially if you're getting a puppy from Bridget. All right, we've almost got it, guys. We've almost got it. Yeah, I don't know if your wife is prepared. She doesn't watch my stream and hear the horror stories all the time. But yeah, just like definitely ask for a chill puppy, and honestly be willing to wait for one. Like, although the breeding that Bridget is doing with Tuca right now with Zammy, with Kiki's mom, Tuca Bear is pretty chill. And they got a really nice chill puppy out of the litter with Zam's sister and him. So yeah, if you're on that litter, you've got a good chance. Some lines are definitely more chill than others in our breed. Like, we've got a variety. We have a Shiloh breeder up in Canada who does performance with her dogs, like actually does like disc dog and stuff. Her dogs are high drive enough to do that, but so there is a variety of energy levels in the breed. Yep. Because they test, right? Kids and young animals, they test. They're like, what can I get away with? What can I do that might get me what I want, right? I mean, it's logical. It's just frustrating from the parental side sometimes. There we go. So we can see our light, we see our details. I think I'm going to put a little bit more lining over here, a little bit more highlight. But this is how you tackle, I can show you another example of it. This is how you tackle a textured surface, but you need to like do like a consistent highlight on it as well. So like, it's I think a little more successful on very regularly sculpted things and also on smaller things like Marika. So this is my paint along, one of my paint alongs for the Patreon. It is a dark sword model. And I did this exactly the same. These little tiny scale sections are done exactly the same as this huge scale section. So it was painted uniformly, and then it was gone back in with shading and glazed a bit. So it works. Cat protection scheme. Awesome. Yes, and there is all my media. The other model that we're working on for paint along right now is a bust, which is the collateral bust from Big Child. So we're working on various parts of the red hair right now. It's taking a long time to get all this hair done. But yeah, so sometimes with these textured things, like a thing that has a texture, but it is still like one big swath of chainmail, or it's one big swath of scale mail or whatever, like you want to paint it first like it's cloth, and then you want to bring out, it's just how I paint hair, same thing, paint it like it's cloth, and then start adding in the texture as you get further into the piece. Just a little bit more here. I think I want to thin down my brown liner a little. But yeah, when there's like mold, you know, kind of mold artifacts or things that are getting in the way in the sculpt, it makes it hard to deal with. I mean, the best thing you can do with when they're littler puppies is to have a playpen or somewhere that you can confine them to keep them safe and to keep you from losing your temper. Kiki, like, I still have baby gates, right? So that's what we use. All right, there we go. That's pretty good. And that way, when I get really frustrated, I can just walk out of the room and leave her alone and come back when I have a second or two to breathe. All right. But as you can see, like, I mean, it's okay, and I'm going to just call it there. But, I mean, the front leg is far more successful as an NMM. I haven't even finished it, really. But yeah, the hard part with Shiloh's is just that they're big, right? Big dogs. Big, strong dogs. It's a good thing I work out. So just adding a couple little spot highlights on the sides to bring out some things, and we're good. Oh yeah, yeah. Those are, and they're huge. Those are chunky dogs. That's gonna be, you know, easy 120-pound, easy dog. Yeah. So it's like, it's just very difficult because these are rounded surfaces. So it's so you can get those spherical highlights and reflections in. We're doing this more linear, so it's reading okay, but I'm not like super happy with it. We're okay with the sword, so that's good. I think since I don't have that much time left, I think I'm going to grab the front of the sword here and start kind of like figuring it out. So. And if you recall, yeah, you know, though, I mean, okay, like, nobody's going to mess with a Neapolitan. Nobody's going to mess with a Mastiff in general. If you, as my ex used to say, if somebody still wants to walk into your house when they see and hear that huge of a dog bark, you have bigger problems. Like, you know, somebody's breaking in. But, any dog can be a good watchdog. I mean, Shelties are great watchdogs because they're very alert and they bark when they hear something suspicious, which is, of course, all the time. Because Shelties. Oh, gosh, yeah, Crowley. Crazy. Yeah, St. Bernard puppies are very nice dogs. Generally, nice temperament on that breed. Still drooly, though. So remember, we've got some, we want to put a lighter area down first on this higher part. Yeah, I think a lot of smaller dogs can be a good watchdog. Like, you don't have to have size. Oh, nice, Dogfather. That's super awesome news. I hope he takes to it well. I hope they can get a good measure on him, and Alrighty, so just a lighter upper surface to start with. Remember, we had to reintroduce some shadows, but in general, the lighter surface is still lighter than the flat surface is. Oh, yeah. Yeah, Miss Imp, exactly. I think that sometimes having a big dog is overrated. I mean, there are people who will definitely cross the street when they see Kiki. It doesn't help that Kiki now looks like she's really wolfy looking now. Like, Shilohs do tend to look like you will run into people, Kodiak, who are convinced that your dog has wolf in them, even though like you can produce a DNA test for any Shiloh that says 0 wolf, but people are convinced that. When I tell people that Kiki is like Shiloh Shepherd and Poodle, they're like, what? But you can't always. Looking at Keeks, you couldn't tell what her dad looked like. Like, you would never guess that he looked like a black-coated retriever. So just taking some gray liner and darkening those down. Yeah, for sure, Twistoma. Yeah, but it'll be better for him in the long run, I think. Like, you never, because, you know, every time you have an imbalance in the body, it affects other parts of the body. So if he can run normally again and his body can adjust, like, I think you're setting him up for a good, setting him up well as far as, like, you know, keeping him fit. But yeah, I'm sure it's going to be like a long road for him to get used to it and see how, you know, to build up muscle and all that kind of thing. So darkening down, kind of like, once you've got everything figured out on the other side of the blade, you really just have to duplicate what you've done before. It's usually good enough. And I'm blocking in shadows. Getting a little bit of shadow in here. I'll often paint the upper surface light right away, but then I really concentrate on my shadows. This part of the blade is super wonky and it annoys me. But yeah, right where this edge cuts away, you have to imagine like that there's little sequins or mirrors all over the front of the blade, and imagine like the mirrors that are like at this angle are going to be like reflecting light, you know, out here, and wherever the edge is that's facing up, wherever it drops flat, is where you're usually going to get a focused highlight along the edge. So that's why the convention of doing the white edging around the entire blade began. Oh, that's funny, Thormill. Yeah. Well, there are still like 30-inch. Those lines are the lines that led to Shiloh's, right, Miss Tim? I mean, Tina was breeding German Shepherds for, and she wanted bigger dogs. She did use still a fair amount of little dogs when they had attributes she wanted, but in general, 30, 31 inches, that was what she wanted to see in a male Shiloh. So, I mean, the German Shepherd lines are out there that have that height. It could have been also just the early neutering, could have just been, size is recessive. So even if the parents are smaller, if they have big dogs behind them, smaller parents can produce a monster dog. Yep, have fun, Crowley. That happened with Kiri. All of Kiri's kids were taller, noticeably bigger than she was. But she also had a brother who was 33 inches and another brother who was 31. So I knew that, you know that when you see that in her full siblings, you know that those genes have a good chance to be there. But there's a lot of genes that contribute to size. That's interesting. And they haven't ID'd all of them either. Like, I think I forget how many Embark has identified at this point. But they still don't have the whole story because they still can be pretty inaccurate in their predictions. Though, sometimes it comes through. So maybe it's just modifying genes. So we're doing the edging with the white now. Any place where the blade changes directions, that's both on the upper edge going to the flat and where the flat goes to the lower edge as well. And then on the actual lower edge. And sometimes there's very little room. And you just have to use the tip of your brush to kind of get that etched in, that line. You can't use the edge of your brush or the flat of your brush anymore. Ugh, yeah, that's, yeah. Yeah, that early neutering, not a good idea. Alright, so again, we're hitting that edging all sorts, so you can see the little white lines popping up. The other place you want an edge is wherever, like on these edges, where it's, again, anywhere where the metal changes direction with an angle. You want that line. And even that alone is already making it look like steel. We haven't even done half the work yet. Oh, Kiki's giving up on me. She went back to lie in front of the door I have cracked open for her. I can hear the flump noise. Yeah, Keeks, are you back? I hear you. Oh, I also didn't take her outside before stream. I wonder if she has to go. But it's almost the end of, it is the end of stream pretty much. Yeah, we're We've been pretty okay with our weather now. It's going to be warmer today, like 64. But I think we're supposed to be right at, you know, upper 50s, 60. Here we go. And so, yeah, that's starting to look pretty good. I'll just do the last edging here. Dogfather, this is just the same as the steel color we've been using, so it is cloudy gray with a touch of tropical blue in it. Just like 6-to-1-ish. You want a little bit of the blue just to change the color of the gray and make it more interesting so it's not so flat. Then gray liner for the shadows, and if you go back and watch the VOD, I talk at the beginning why specifically gray liner and not a different black. And then white. Pure white. But yeah, I like the NMM on this piece other than the silly scale mail. And I'm sure there's a better way to do the scale mail, and I'm just like grumbling at it and not getting it. Let's see here. Yeah. Alrighty. And we'll want to give an under reflection too, but we don't want to use like pure white for that. So we'll probably do that next time. So that's at least a start. We'll probably work on gold next time. And I need to do, of course, more highlights like that coming across the blade. You don't just always want to do edge highlights. But we're coming to the end of things, and I need to take the demon dog, the Cerberus, for a walk. So apparently she was a real beast on her morning walk. David was warning me already when he came in that she was a demon today. Though I think he lets her get you closer to people and other dogs than I do. Like, I always, I just assume that the person doesn't want to meet Kiki and they're out for their walk. So unless somebody obviously is like, oh, sure, I want to meet your puppy, you know. I always keep far away, and I think David goes down the same side of the street, so she has more opportunity to, like, jump on people. I gotta talk him into keeping her farther away. Alrighty, got a bit of that going on, bringing down that shadow a little bit. When you can make this kind of an irregular highlight, a little bit irregular, it helps. But yeah, so tomorrow we're back to our lovely necromancer. Probably continuing with our We didn't really get to the black indigo highlights on the boots last time. I have to figure out what I'm doing with the belts and everything still. I think I was going to do it like a dark gray and try to just hit hints of the silver. We'll see what we can do. I may actually start with a cloudy gray, do a gray liner wash over it, and then hit little highlights on it. It's probably going to be the most efficient way to do her jewelry, her belt, and her chains that's around her. Probably going to be the best way. I still am trying to figure out if I want any gold at all on her or if I want to go all cold. I may do tiny touches of gold, a little bit maybe on her ponytail and the edges of her bracers. But just like, I think tiny bits of warm, and then we haven't figured out her little vials here in her pouches either. I'm keeping her with a pretty simple color scheme, so I may go with the indigo on the pouches, and maybe the red on the vials, the magenta. That's what I'm thinking. But we'll see. We'll see. Yes. So there we go. That's what we did today, and that's what we're headed for tomorrow. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in, of course. Tomorrow is Friday. FYI, those who watch my stream on Saturdays, I will not be on this week. We have to go and do an errand for David's dad up in Sacramento, so we're not going to be around. Thank you all for tuning in, though, and I will be back tomorrow on this stream. So, yes, there are all my things. Go look at all my things. Oh, yeah, and I want to do red. I want to do the dark red for the bookmark pendrake. It's like just really demanding it, like, in my opinion, because if you look at alternation, color alternation, you've got like the magenta, and then you've got like the book, and then you've got magenta, and you've got dark in between there. You've got this dark color and that dark color. So it really begs for magenta, black, magenta, black, magenta. So you really want it to be the red purple, in my opinion. You could go with gold if you wanted to. There's nothing wrong with it. But for me, my color sense, my gut color sense says, no, that needs to be magenta. And the only reason I haven't done it this color is that we haven't been working with that color for a long time. So that's what it'll be. Maybe I'll put a gold edge on it, but it depends. I don't want, like I said, I don't want to bring too much warmth into this because I'm going very cold with this color scheme. So that's part of why I like it. So yeah. Anyway, there we go. And thank you all. Yes, come back and see Josh, and I will see you all tomorrow morning. All right? Bye-bye.